obviously this is my first time on Hit Talks, and in the week I thought, well, I'll do a bit of research and see what other people are doing. I've gone back and looked over what other people have done, and they said, yeah, this is coming from the heart. This is for right now. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's unscripted, right? Okay, great. Let's go with that then. Because quite honestly, hopefully that's the way I usually work best. So my name's Mark. I'm originally from Ipswich in Suffolk in the UK. And I moved here to Guatemala around about 12 years ago. And what brought me here was the Sacred Mind calendar. It's been a passion of mine for about 22 years or so, and I've been very deeply involved in it. And when I came here, I was meeting with the elders. I've been initiated as a Mayan day keeper. It was about 5 years ago that I received my sacred bundle. So I'm kind of living it. That's what I do. And when I was thinking about what to talk to you all about today, what came through was timing, sacred timing. And the first thing that came to mind was this joke, actually. It was kind of like this thing, what's the secret of comedy? Timing. And to see how important the way that we time our words, the way that we time our actions is. And I was thinking, there was a friend of mine over in England, and a couple of years ago, he decided that he was going to do a charity swim across the English Channel from Dover to Calais. And he's a strong swimmer. He does triathlons and all of those kind of things. And, it's a lot more than I could do. But what it came down to was the absolute timing of the swim. Because you need to go out on the high tide, so the tide carries you out. And then you need to get to the middle of the English Channel, I suppose, about 6 hours into the tide carries you back the other way. However, so you've got to have the tide with you, because it doesn't matter how strong a swimmer you are. If your timing is wrong, it doesn't work. And I see this in the calendar. I see this in everything. This morning, I've actually been up since about 3 a.m. I very much appreciated Sanjeev's talk on coffee. I enjoy coffee. I live in a coffee plantation. So, this is a very good thing. But at 3 a.m., I decided I wanted to get up and take photographs of, well, it ended up being the Orion Nebula. There are two things involved in there, both regarding navigation. Firstly, I have to be pointing the axis of my scope in the right way, so it's hitting true north. And secondly, I have to know what time this constellation is going to rise. So if I went out on the wrong day, it wouldn't be in the sky, even if I was aligned to true north. Or if I went out at the right time, but I was aligned incorrectly geographically, I wouldn't be able to get the photographs I want. Now, you might be wondering why I'm talking about all of these, but what I see through my work is that these calendars help us to navigate time. They help us to navigate our life path. They help us to understand exactly when to apply our energy in the direction to give the result we wish to achieve. And this is critical. Now, right now, today, it's kind of ironic for my first appearance on Hit Talks, I think, is the day of the new birth. This is a day one can walk in the calendar that we use down here. And it's a rebirthing, it's the initiation of the birth process. It's a renewal. Now, interestingly enough, this calendar that I work with, it works in 13-day cycles. The last 13-day cycle, which ended yesterday, was the cycle of death. And so, death followed by rebirth, literally laid out in this calendar. And this calendar is a cycle of evolution. Now, a dear friend of mine earlier in the year, we were talking about some things, and he said, when something happens, often we can't go back to what was before, but we lament it, we pine about it, we grieve for it. And I think there's many of us this year in particular grieving for what it was, what we had, how things used to be. Now, the truth is, it's unlikely that we'll ever go back to exactly how things used to be. We get used to this phrase, the new normal. And in some ways, we feel like it's a series of restrictions that have been put on us. Oh, we can't do that now because of this, because of that. But the interesting thing is that not only does the calendar that I work with have a 13-day cycle and a 260-day cycle, it also has a 52-year cycle. And what we're seeing now is a reflection of 1968 in one way or another. And these cycles, what we see is that time, yes, it's kind of linear, but it's more of a spiral fashion. That's the way that most elders will describe it, rather than being a straight line going from A to B. It's a spiral that has a kind of repeating section to it. So when we understand where it's going to repeat, we can understand just what time to jump on that ride or jump off the ride if that's what we want to do as well. So getting back to this idea that we're in a time of rebirth, we couldn't hold on to what was going on behind us. In some ways, we didn't need to, we didn't want to. I mean, there was a lot of good things going on there, but there's also some things that maybe weren't so good, that we've had the opportunity to drop off. We've had this time, this space by ourselves in our home, with our families maybe, that we don't normally get that much time with our families. We can treat it as a blessing. We can treat it as a time of introspection, where we can understand what to reinvent. And now, right now, this day, it's a day of new birth, a day of letting go of what we left behind. The last 13 days, maybe you found there were some fairly harsh things happening in the last 13 days as you released the stuff that, quite frankly, you didn't really need to be carrying anymore anyway. And now it's time to put our best foot forward. Now it's the time to engage with that birth process, what you're going to initiate to take you through in the next 260 days. So, as with everything, we can look at it in a positive or negative manner. We might have been waiting for this opportunity to birth into reality what it is truly within us. This is the other thing that I find about this calendar. It helps to show us, as Valerie was saying before me, who am I? Helps us to know and understand what lessons we came here with. Excuse me, I actually put a timer on for myself. What lessons we came here with, what direction to follow. It's our map for our life path. And that life path is one that our soul chose when we came in. And slowly it gets overwritten by teachers and parents and governments who want us to be this, who want us to be that. When we start identifying the truth of our navigation, when we start navigating time in the correct manner, that's when the magic of our transformation can really come out. So, thank you all for listening to me. Thank you to everybody involved. Thanks for Vikki for having me on. And I hope that was useful to you.